12 hours of light, 12 hours of darkness. But besides that, it's a day when we're going to have a conversation about two sports conferences that are going to be taking place in Kenya this week. One in Nairobi on Wednesday, and it is about sports as an asset. For a very long time, sport has been looked at as an amateur sport, and if you look at the local languages, roughly translated, it's about play. Even in Swahili, tunasema michezo. So that's an asset. How do you optimize it? Sport is an industry that has got the capacity to do something in the close of $500 billion a year. But how do we optimize that? What are the way you go around it and make the best out of it? And also on Thursday in Eldoret, Koitalel Samoei University College have partnered with the Tampere University of Applied Sciences. They will be hosting a conference, and it is about developing a sports policy for Kenya and also developing sports science. So good that it's happening around Eldoret when a lot of work has been done around that area. And I can be specific about a lot of information and data that was collected. Think of the Breaking 2 project and the INEOS 159 project. So that is another one. And also over the weekend, we had the World Indoor Athletics Championships. And what's the story about it? Not the best of outings for Kenya. Just 2 medals and not a single gold. Our neighbors Ethiopia had 4 gold medals, 3 silver and 2 bronze. We shall also be taking a review of that. Well, welcome to the conversations that are spoken about, all about sport. 2 are going to be on conferences, and 1 a recap of the weekend that was in Belgrade, Serbia, where we had the World Athletics Indoor Championships. Before we continue, to introduce our sign language interpreter this hour, her name is Anne Wangeshi. Well, on Thursday in Eldoret, the Koitalel Samoei University College, it's a constituent college of the University of Nairobi, will be hosting a conference, a one-day forum, and it will take place on Thursday, the 24th of March, and it is about the development of sports science and policy in Kenya. There will be representatives from government, from sporting federations, from the National Olympic Committee of Kenya, and also those in the sporting ecosystem. And to understand this partnership that's going to be between the Koitalel Samoei University College and the Tampere University of Applied Sciences, that's a university in Finland, we have got on my immediate right the principal of Koitalel Samoei University College, Professor Jackson Toll. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you, Mr. Wahome.
Yes, and we also have got person who's in charge of international relations at Tampere University of Applied Sciences from the land of 1,000 lakes, Finland, Peter Pertula. Got that right?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And let me start with you, Professor. The whole concept of having sports science and also sport policy developed through an academic institution. How did Koitalel Samoei University College come up with this?
Yeah, thank you very much. This came up with the fact that as a country, we have done very well in sports, generally speaking, and especially in the track sports, we've been doing extremely well. But we also note that we haven't yet developed policies that guide the sports sector for our sports industry to prosper and be sustainable. And we also note that there are very few institutions in the country that have developed the sports science curricula that has all the ingredients that can make sports to prosper in our country. So we thought that there was need for us to partner with countries that have a little ahead of us in terms of sports. And Finland is one country that has a very robust sports industry and sports training and sports programs. We thought that our partnership would go a long way in assisting the university college to come up with sports programs in science and also in management sports. Yes.
And Peter, let me come to you. How did Tampere University and KSUC come into a partnership?
Okay, so we have a mutual friend called Cornelius Kiplagat. He represents Max Global Company, and he is the one who has been initiating this cooperative. So he has been bringing different delegations from Kenya to see our facilities in Finland, in Tampere, and vice versa. Our experts have been traveling to Kenya, to different counties, different schools, different entities. And this is how we have been kind of able to tailor the best possible solutions from Finland and bring it to Kenya.
All right. Which are the key solutions that Cornelius and KSUC were looking for when it comes to specifically sports science?
I think that in Finland we are known as having one of the best education systems in the world. And I think that one of the reasons is that we are constantly adjusting our system, so we are not just making one system and having it fixed for many years. Every year we are revising all of our curriculums, and we are all the time trying to learn from different places. And here, I think that from the Finnish perspective, Kenya is very interesting for us because, of course, every day we watch sports, we see that Kenyan athletes are bringing gold medals in different sports. But on the other hand, in sports like ice hockey, Finland just won the Olympic gold medal. And Finland has been doing very well in football, in, for example, basketball. So Finland has a big history in sports where you have a team of many people. And from my perspective, Kenyans are more of doing these individual performances. So I think that there we have a lot to learn from each other.
Okay. Well, actually, in Finland, you're best known for having provided training base for Julius Yego in the javelin. I think in Finland you love throwing things a lot. And
yes.
Also for your rally drivers.
Yes.
That's what we know Finland for from the sporting perspective. And Professor, when this partnership started, with Max Global and Tampere, what were some of the gaps in the Kenyan scene that you saw that needed to be filled? And say over the next 5 or so years, then you would be fully ready for these children who are coming under the new curriculum.
Thank you very much. One of the major gaps that we noticed or have realized in our country is training. And training our sports men and women to have sport that is sustainable. Training comes in the form of the curriculum. It comes in terms of coaching, and also in terms of having the infrastructure in the sports arena. And one of the areas or gaps that we have noticed in our country is that we have bestowed all the confidence in the coaching. And training is individualized, as opposed to doing a teamwork. To produce a sports person who can excel and do well requires teamwork from different experts and expertise. In the medical, we need the medics, we need the physicians, you need the biomedical people, you need to have nutrition, you need to have the masseurs and many other people, so that you can produce an athlete that is competitive and can sustain his discipline over a long period of time. To crown it all, we need a policy framework that will define who is a coach, who is a sports manager, and to safeguard our young sportsmen and women, because we've seen gaps where we have athletes, for example, who come up within a very short time they fall out, because there's no clear way of sustaining their talent and their sportsmanship. So this we hope to gain from this forum with Finland and the county government and national government and all the players in this space of sports. We want to come up with ideas which will inform our curriculum, ideas to make us develop policies which will sustain our sport industry in the country.
Well, interesting that, for KSUC is that, you've got this background of education, with Mosorio Teachers College coming through there.
Right.
For the earlier part, let's look at what would be the easy part. Let's talk about the physiotherapy and education around that, because being based in Nandi County means that there is a market for physiotherapists, knowing the number of athletes who are there. And also the other one that I would like to take a look at is when it comes to sports management. Let us look at those two first.
Right. Thank you very much. Let us begin with sports management. That many a time in our country, we have had a situation where we have sports managers with little or no background in sports. Or we have a situation where a person who was formerly a champion in some sport or discipline is made to supervise and run sport without having had any kind of training, any kind of exposure to the sports industry and sports world. So that mismatch creates gaps that will not help our sport to grow. So we are saying that one of the ways in which we can sustain and grow our sport is by enabling the sports managers to have some training, some education in sports management from experts who can manage sports. That's one way. Then the other one is in terms of how we handle coaching. And coaching is not about you having been a good player, having been a good athlete. There is more to being a coach. And coach, we have come to realize, is not an individual affair. It is a team spirit of different expertise being managed by one person. The other bit that we've seen in our country are guidelines on who should manage the sport, who should be a coach. Because we have many pretenders who are saying they are coaches, but have no certification. They have no papers or any experience. And we are saying there is need for the government at the national level and the county level to work together and establish systems and structures that can help the sport and sports people to nurture their talent and to take them to higher levels of achievement. You've just mentioned in the sport in Serbia, the competitions, yes, in Belgrade, in Serbia, we have not done well. We should ask ourselves, why are we not doing well? What is the problem? Because we think that sport is about your physique and being able to run. There is more to it. There is a mental preparation. There is a nutrition. There is the education part of it. Mm-hmm. So that if we have all that knowledge being put together in the curriculum, in our frameworks, we will be able to produce better competitive athletes. And I think the science are there for us to address that gap. Thank you.
And Peter, let me come to you from experiences that you've picked up in Finland. Then, how does it, say, for example, the Finnish Football Association now partner with an academic institution, because the Football Association is the one that will run the technical coaching courses, but then there is the other aspect. How do these links work?
So I think that in Finland the great thing is that most of our education is work-life based. And if you are, for example, studying in Varala Sports Institute, that means that all of your studies are linked to actually working with sportsmen and women. So, for example, the national football team could do a collaboration where students at Varala Sports Institute are practicing their skills together with real athletes. Uh-huh. So even in our studies, like everything that we do is done for a purpose, not just for getting a paper, but it's done for getting skills. And then you get the paper showing that you have obtained these skills. So I think that's the big thing. Everything is work-life based. And in this case, for example, our physiotherapists, they might, for example, be assigned to a few top-performing athletes, and together with experienced physiotherapists, they are learning and kind of supervising. So everything is learned on the job already while studying.
Wow. And quite a different shift from what we have, where it's, for example, it's at the final year when you go to now your internship.
Yes.
How would you learn to see that our curriculum is changed such that from year one, for example, you would have, say, because you're based around Mosoriot, let me just speak world champion Ruth Chepngetich, is that you're working with her and her management team.
Yes. That is the kind of programs we want to establish in the college, where once we have the curriculum developed and approved and implementing it, the curriculum will have a lot of internship and partnerships with the athletes, so that and the other experts that work in the industry, such that the training of the athletes and training of students is not just about theory, it's not just about content, but more of the field work, more of the internship and practicum, so that the curriculum is not all about theory. In fact, in the current reforms being done by government and the KBC, where the competency-based curriculum has been adopted, much of the training at all levels is to emphasize on competence, on the ability to do and deliver, and less of theory, less of content, less of the classroom. And so once we have these programs running, we shall have more of the athletes being taken through the actual practice, merging theory with practice, and inviting the different expertise to come on board and transfer this to open this up. For a long time, it's been very opaque. And you've seen cases of incidences where our athletes have suffered.
Yes.
Others have lost their lives because we don't know, we've not managed it. We don't, if you today woke up and said, I'm a trainer, you've seen Changati Janet doing very well, and say, now I want to train you, and you start doing that. We need to vet you. We need to accredit you as a trainer. We need to know who you are. What is your training? What is your capacity? So this policy would bring that out so that we don't have pretenders. We don't have people who prey on young girls and young boys to say that I can train you, and you want to take advantage. So a policy that would be developed from that level and having all the stakeholders coming on board and to the national level needs to be developed and adopted to harmonize the training in the country.
And Peter, the whole conversation that I'm picking here is about picking best practices from around the world. Just give us a perspective of how that sports policy works in Finland, such that there are so many, there's a whole sporting ecosystem that is vibrant and works together with government and the people who've invested the money in it.
This is kind of a difficult question, but I think what we have to show, first of all, is that nowadays we are performing on the top level of most sports where you have a team. So I think that this is the newest kind of trend in education. So we have shifted from this teacher-centered learning to the student-centered learning. And now we are heading towards this team-based learning. And I think this is what our teachers are taught to look for. So when they are traveling, when they are seeing how foreign people study or train. So for example, our teachers could be traveling and seeing how Kenyans train, how do your runners train, or they could go to Sweden to see how the ice hockey players train. And it's all about adjusting and kind of copy-pasting the best practices and mixing them into our context. And I think that this is what we're looking to do here also.
And with, the world, picking up and sharing cultures, how then do you get, for example, if you have somebody from Finland who wants to come to Kenya, or you have got a researcher from Finland coming to Kenya, how then do you try and integrate, the diverse cultures, the different cultures?
I think that in these cases, what is vital is that we have people physically traveling to see the context of the other party. So we cannot do this online. I don't believe that it can be done online where you are just showing presentations to each other. I think that it needs real people traveling to see, okay, we are traveling to the counties now. It's important for our trainers to see the training facilities, to see the young people who will be trained, to see the parents of young people who will be trained, and vice versa. We need Kenyan delegations visiting us, visiting our facilities, because it's still, everyone wants to move into this completely online world, but I don't think that that's the correct way.
Well, thank God the pandemic's done. We can now move.
Yes, finally.
We love being on the ground. And Professor, how do you then, because looking at the profile of Koitalel Samoei University College is that you want to go to every sub-county of in Nandi,
Right.
have a campus there eventually.
Right.
How do you want to work with the community such that your program is well accepted? And for example, if somebody's in primary school, they can say, look, there's a pathway for me in sport science, in sport policy that can be achieved eventually.
Right. Very good question, Wahome. I want to say that a university, in its very nature, is supposed to do three things: to teach, do research, and community outreach, and to share research findings with the community and engage the community for the mutual benefit of the community and the university. So by going out and having campuses in different sub-counties of the Nandi County is one way of making the university reach out to the community and to see how they can benefit. And we're only citing one particular area of sports science. There could be other, we intend to, once we establish other programs, let's say in agriculture, the same format and same model would work. But in terms of creating synergy between the university and the community, the best way is to have projects, engagements with the community. In terms of sports, we want to bring on board primary schools and secondary schools and tertiary schools so that we are able to build their capacity, train their sports masters and sports women on the best practices, and for them to appreciate and choose the sports pathway. As you are aware, in the KBC that we're currently implementing, it's now in grade 6, one of the pathways at senior secondary is sports science and creative arts. The others is we have humanities and we have STEM. So we will be responding to the change that the government is putting in place by enabling students from senior level to choose from these three pathways. And when we make sport to be our niche, and given that we are located in a region where there is rich talent, we'll be able to attract very many students from across the country, by the way, to pursue sports science pathway. And once we have all the facilities and infrastructure and the best curricula, we will be able to produce the best sportsmen and women in the country.
And having, just to give an understanding from Tampere University of Applied Sciences, what has been the continuous, conversations with federations, sports people, or the sporting ecosystem in Finland? What are some of the great outcomes that you can always talk about that make somebody always come back and say, let's say the Archery Federation or the Athletics Federation of Finland comes back and says, Tampere, help us again?
I think something that we have achieved quite well in Tampere is the cooperation that our educational institutes do together. So Tampere University of Applied Sciences, for example, has partnered with Tampere Adult Education Center and Varala Sports Institute. So as a concrete example, we will now start training a group of Kenyan physiotherapy students in Finland, but it's not just basic physiotherapy, it's tailored so that it's focusing on sports physiotherapy. So the teachers of the University of Applied Sciences are working together with physiotherapists of Varala Sports Institute. So I think this is our strength. We are seeing each other as partners, not kind of as, let's say, competition. So as Tampere, we are a very strong region in this. So we have a wide variety of different educational institutes who have contracts between each other, so we work very closely. And this is how we can usually find the best solution.
Uh-huh.
So we don't think that we can do it alone. We cannot say that Tampere University of Applied Sciences could give the best results alone, but together with the partners, I think that we can give pretty good project opportunities.
Right. And Professor, when I'm looking at the conference program, and let me just look at some of the people who will be there. I can see that the Cabinet Secretary for Sports is expected to be there, Ambassador Amina Mohammed,
right.
And Professor George Magoha, the Cabinet Secretary for Education. That's one of those who are going to be at that place. And also we have got the Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi. That's your parent university.
Yes.
When they heard about this conversation, what was their reaction to it, and how you can input into a new way of looking at sports in the country?
Oh, they have. So thank you very much. The parent ministry, especially both the education ministry and sports and culture, have been very supportive, and they are very excited about the initiative because it's part of the efforts to grow sports science in the country. We are going a long way in terms of implementing the aspirations of the country and the universities. So they are very happy about it, and they've been supportive, and they are supporting us in every aspect. For your information, the sports minister, for example, Amina Mohammed, has been to the region several times. In the last time he came, he presided over sports tour tournament at Lobo Village, which is in Mwazingishu County.
Yes, the cross-country event.
The cross-country event. And prior to that, she also came to attended the Agnes Cherop Memorial cross-country tour. So you can see the enthusiasm and the passion she has in the sports. And all these initiatives are welcomed. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Nairobi has been very supportive of the university. And what we are trying to come up is in line with the vision of the university and the government in terms of supporting the sports industry because of what sport has done for the country in terms of marketing, in terms of developing careers, in terms of branding, and elevating our image as a country. And so and the fact that we are also working with the counties is promoting the synergy between the national government and the county government in identifying talent, training for the mutual benefit of the sports persons and also the government. So we're in synergy, and we're working together, and we look forward to them coming on board to engage in that forum, because there are different groups. There's the university, there's the government, there's education, there is the sports personality and sports people in attendance. We have the manufacturing sector, the Coca-Cola, the Safaricom, all of them coming on board, because we need to realize that sport is not just about running, it's about branding, it's about promoting certain things for the country. You can use sport to promote climate awareness, climate change. And Eliud Kipchoge is doing very well on that.
Uh-huh.
We've seen Catherine...
Actually, he's one of your panelists.
He's one of them. We've seen Catherine Dereba doing so much in terms of creating awareness and using sport to promote gender parity and gender awareness. We also have people like, I've talked about Eliud Kipchoge. We also have had other personalities who use sport to champion certain causes which are dear for our country. It could be in health. It could be in the area of environmental conservation. So let us use sport to promote positive, it was Ferdinand Omanyala, now being used to promote peace. You know, we're in an election year.
Yes.
And we've been using sport to tell Kenyans that we need to have peace, we need to be united, and sport is what brings us together. And if we can bring these personalities to champion the peace at a time like this, and I'm happy that the media, including you and the nation, the Standard, have been promoting peace messages, Miminim Kenya, And so when you identify as a Kenyan, and we have sports celebrities championing the same, we shall achieve and attain peace and prosperity. And that's the point we are trying to put across.
And Peter, let me talk about some. You will also be speaking mainly about education, sports, and career development at the conference. And also, you shall have a keynote speaker, Sami Putonen, is going to be speaking about intersport service. He's an intersport service advisor in business. And also, we shall have also from Tampere, we're going to be having also Eva Lisa Viscari plus Kati Aimonen. You could be telling us about their key strengths, and where they will be giving, their talks on Thursday.
I think that the team that we brought with us to Kenya this time is consisting of very different kinds of experts. So, for example, Kati is the manager of our practical nurse teachers. But on the other hand, Sami...
Actually, that's nursing now.
Yes, that is nursing. Mm-hmm. But then on the other hand, Sami works for Business Tampere, and his job is to kind of promote the education and the industry collaboration. Because of course, as I mentioned, most of our study programs are based on work-life skills. So of course we need the industries. If we are talking about the sports industry, we need advertising skills. Yes. We need physiotherapists. We need nurses. It's such a big thing. It's not just the athlete that we see on TV. It's a whole kind of system behind it. And that's why our team is kind of consisting of different kinds of skills. And for example, Eva-Lisa Viskari, she's an expert on climate change issues and especially cleaning water. So it's very interesting, and you will hear on Thursday on how she will bring this out related to sports.
Mm-hmm. And at the end of it all, what's a message that, what you'd like to share with Kenya and what you'd like Kenya to share with you?
Personally, something that I have realized in my short sports career is that if you have been a high-performing athlete, that does not automatically mean that you are a high-performing coach. Uh-huh. So I think that is like the mindset that we have to get rid of. So traditionally in Finland, for example, we are famous for the rally drivers that we have. So we have maybe made the mistake of thinking that, okay, you have won the championship 20 years ago, you must be a good coach for young people, but it does not work that way. So I think that most athletes need some formal training to become the best coaches, because it's a completely different thing to tell on your achievements than to actually kind of transform the knowledge that you have to other people.
All right, then I won't have Harry Ravampera as my coach. Professor, as we wind up, what's the message that you would like to reach to the people who are in sports in Kenya as you embark on this journey of developing sport science and sport policy?
Thank you very much. I think the key message is that you can use sport to bring more opportunities for the country and to make the country prosper. Mm-hmm. And not just to look at sports as a one-end game of just winning a gold medal, and that is all. We can use sport to promote peace, to promote unity in the country. We can use sport to market our country as a tourist destination. We can use sport to champion causes, food, environment, and many other worthy causes that sport can bring to the country, because we know sport brings us together. And the more we use sport and tailor it and package it to get more for the country, the better. To create more sportsmen and women, and to have coaches who are more competent, not based on the history, but based on competence, and to see sport as teamwork, not just an individual affair. So that, I think, is a message we're trying to put across. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much. Yes, that is Professor Jackson Toh. He's a principal of the Koitalel Samoei University College. It is a constituent college of the University of Nairobi. It's based in Nandi County, Mosorio Teachers College. If you know where that college is, then you have got the right place. And also we have got Peter Pertula. He's from the Tampere University of Applied Sciences. And on Thursday, the 24th of March in Eldoret, there will be the Forum for Development of Sports Science and Policy in Kenya. And the theme is linking education, sports and industry. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Well, we shall be taking a short break, and when we come back, let's talk about the weekend that Kenyans do not want to remember. The World Indoors in Belgrade, Serbia. Just 2 medals, a silver and a bronze, no gold. Coach Stephen Waniki joins us in a short while.